Buenos días, buenas tardes, y buenas noches. Bonjour, bonsoir, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you may be. Jay Slater Case. And wasn't planning on doing a video today, but got blindsided somewhat by the Daily Mirror exclusive interview with Debbie Duncan that I got a link posted to me, sent to me via email this morning, went straight to it. I will post that link. It's on TikTok. I would imagine by now that Daily Mirror interview has been posted in other places, as I know a lot of you don't use TikTok, but at least I can post what I was sent and you can check it out. And it is an exclusive interview. I take it to mean that when Debbie does an exclusive interview, she's paid to do that rather handsomely, because it is something that only the Mirror will do. It's just a one-on-one interview. The Mirror has exclusive rights to it. I think that's what exclusive means. So yeah, the comment I read about, yeah, this is a nice little earner, isn't it? And the other comment about she must be skint by now rings true. I know we're coming up to the second anniversary of the disappearance of Jay Slater, but I don't know. I mean, Debbie was silent for month after month after month after month. All of a sudden, with Jay's law petition and the sofa surfing that happened, she's come to a bit of a dead end. But lo and behold, the second anniversary is on the horizon, just a few days away now. And yeah, she's got a nice little earner going with the Daily Mirror, of course. Now, it's a lengthy interview and there's a lot. I mean, there's so much in there that one should unpack. I mean, to a certain extent, as Jan's Views pointed out, it's a lot of the same old drivel. Yeah, that's true. But there are a few nuggets in there. And I wanted to pick out a few just to air tonight, and I'll go over other things in the next few days. First thing that jumped out at me was when the interviewer, who I think is Hannah, I'm not sure, Hannah Britt, when she asks Debbie, "Do you have any unanswered questions?" Now, I would have thought, given the coroner's verdict, accident, 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 given that Debbie, for the longest time now, has jumped fully on board with accident, that she has said she has all the answers, or all the answers were given to her, I would have thought immediately after that question, do you have any unanswered questions? Debbie's answer would be no. Well, the answer was no, but it was a very slow, grudging, hesitant no that came after a, count it, 7-second pause. Really? Debbie, do you have any unanswered questions? Well, no. And then she said, sometimes you go back down a rabbit hole and you think, well, if you're going back down any rabbit holes and you're thinking over stuff, I would call that an unanswered question. You're thinking about something you're not 100% sure about. So, I mean, in my mind, do you have any unanswered questions? Correct answer was yes, I do. And I think about them. And I still can't make sense out of some of it. Would have been a more accurate. But I think the problem here is Debbie has to remember exactly what her situation is regarding the world out there. So in Debbie's world, I believe Debbie has no or very few unanswered questions because Debbie knows pretty much what happened to Jay. But Debbie's got to pretend that she doesn't know certain things about what happened to Jay. She's got to pretend that she goes along 100% with the whole wandered down a ravine and fell to his death thing. So, therefore, she's got to say something that convinces her audience. So I'm thinking maybe she hesitated over saying no because she wasn't 100% sure whether a very immediate no would be the convincing answer to her audience. This is the problem when you're trying to portray yourself as believing a certain thing, but in your heart you know something else. It was interesting, a 7-second pause, more or less, on do you have any unanswered questions? And then, when describing what happened to Jay, this quote was curious. Debbie said he made some bad choices. Talking about Jay, he made some bad choices. Well, I guess we all do in life. Very few of them end up leading to a tragedy like this. But yeah, he made some bad choices. But on the other hand, Debbie, there were some choices made for Jay that were very bad. And my problem with Debbie is we haven't had a moment yet where Debbie stands up and starts to list off all the choices that she made that were very bad. The obvious one, Jay's incomplete community order for violent disorder. Jay had not completed that. And yet, an example of a very bad choice was Debbie saying, don't worry about that. It doesn't really matter. We don't think you're guilty anyway. Why don't you go on your holes with your narco friends? I would have thought, Debbie, that was a really bad choice that you made. Not really Jay, but I think you made that choice. And then there are many, many other choices, yeah, that apparently Jay made. But Debbie stepping back saying, yeah, I didn't make that choice. Um, I mean, you can say to a certain extent, Jay's friends are Jay's friends, but you could say Debbie made the choice. It was a choice. Debbie made the choice to say, oh, going with Brad and spending time with Lucy and good old Brandon, that's a good idea. Well, many parents would say that's a bad idea. And if Debbie had no inkling what Brad, Brandon, and Lucy were up to over there, then again, she needs to step back and say she made a bad choice. She chose, if that were the scenario, not to find out who these so-called friends are. Yeah, so I did not like that answer. He made some bad choices. For sure, that's true, but it almost takes all of the responsibility away from Debbie. But she must bear a lot of the responsibility when it comes to the menu of bad choices that were out there. Debbie said he should have just gone back to his accommodation. He should have just gone back to his accommodation. I'd be keen to know where Debbie thinks Jay's accommodation was. Oh, I know. She says she booked the Las Palomas apartments for Jay. Does that mean that's where Jay was staying, Debbie? How would you know? I mean, good old Lucy's out there in a police report released via a court document saying that she spent that last night with Jay, not in his accommodation, and not in her family apartment at the Victoria Court Apartments. No, no. Lucy said quite clearly in the Airbnb. So where do you think, Debbie, Jay's accommodation actually was? Because I've said maybe, just maybe, Jay was staying a night or two, a few nights, some of the nights, all of the time, up in Masca. We have no idea where these people were ending up, and I don't think Debbie has any idea too. He should have just gone back to his accommodation. Maybe, Debbie, that's what Jay did. None of us know where Jay was staying. I was going to say staying the nights he was there. He's out all night. So the morning, his sleeping time, where was he spending all these mornings? Debbie also said he'd spoke to Brad. And he said, oh, I'm coming back. And I don't think, this is Debbie saying, I don't think he realized how far away he was. Debbie is still under the belief that Jay did not know how far away he was. And yet, Debbie, we have Brad in his interview with Isla Traquir, saying, when Brad and Jay were talking and laughing and finding it all very funny, Brad said, turn your locator on, and we found out he was 11 hours walk away. And then in the interview, Brad said, I don't know if it's true or not, which is also a lie because Brad would have found out immediately afterwards that it was true. He would have looked at the app, the data, the map. But anyway, the point is, at the moment Jay and Brad were talking about where Jay actually is, and Brad said, oh, look at that, you're 11 hours away, then Jay knew exactly how far away he was. That was the whole point of him and Brad finding that out. And also, we had the same story, Debbie. Come on, keep up, Debbie. Keep up with the news here. You didn't get the memo. Brandon also said when Brandon was talking to him, turn your locator on. And do you remember Brandon's reaction when he found out how far away Jay was? It was, oh shit. Oh shit. That was Brandon's words. And I guess, oh shit, because he suddenly saw exactly how far it was. So we have two people here, Debbie, Brandon and Brad, saying effectively, you are a very, very long way from where you think you are. Jay obviously knew where he was based on what he said to Brad and Brandon. And we got Lucy. Now, Lucy didn't say, oh, you're 11 hours walk away, but she said in no uncertain terms, Debbie, she said, you need to go back where you came from. Lucy didn't say, oh, you've got to be close to home, just keep on walking, did she? No, no. Lucy was very clear. You ain't going to make it. You need to go back to where you came from. So out of the three friends, Debbie, that spoke to Jay that morning, all three friends let Jay know exactly where he was and that he was not going to make it back on foot. And yet, after all this time, nearly 3 years, Debbie, you're on an exclusive interview saying, well, he spoke to Brad and, oh, I'm coming back. And I don't think he realised how far away he were. Well, he was told how far away. Well, you keep telling us he's not a stupid boy. Three people tell him he ain't going to make it back on foot. And you're there saying, well, Jay didn't know how far away it was. Come on, Debbie. This ain't going to wash. You may be skint. You may need the money. Babbling away like this, trying to convince people that have actually listened to the people involved say their thing, say their piece. This is not adding up, Debbie. I'm addressing Debbie because Debbie says she does get told what content creators say. So addressing you directly, Debbie. This one was interesting. Very interesting. The interviewer and Debbie are talking about Masca. Masca in particular, not Tenerife in general, Masca in particular. The Masca area and where Jay's memorial is and where they assume Jay died. And the interviewer says something about, have you been back to Masca? And Debbie says, yes, she recounts going back there this time last year. She recounts laying flowers there at the memorial site. She says she will go back in the future as long as she can keep traveling there. No problem. We get that. And then Debbie starts to say how, in a way, in a strange kind of way, that Masca area is a special place for her because it has, well, she says happy memories because she says it's a beautiful place. And she says you can go and look at that scenery and it takes your breath away. Now, clearly here she's talking about the Masca area, not Tenerife in general. She's talking specifically about the Taino National Park, that ravine, that mountainous area. And then Debbie also says, I last spoke to him when he was there. He was having such a good time. Now, when I first heard that, I had no doubts at all whatsoever that Debbie's referring to Masca. I don't think she's referring to Tenerife. It didn't fit in. If she's talking about Tenerife in general, that what she said there about the last time I spoke to him, he was there and he was having such a good time. To me, it is clear she's talking about Masca, the Airbnb, and in the wilderness, not just on Tenerife. So the question is, when Debbie says, I last spoke to him when he was there and he was having such a good time, when was that last time she spoke to Jay when he was in Masca? As far as we know, we were told Debbie didn't speak to him that Monday morning. A lot of us found it unbelievable because what was it, round about 6 o'clock on that WhatsApp group, Jay's out there announcing to the world he's just stolen a rollie, going to sell it for 10 quid. Some of us assumed Debbie heard about that pretty darn quickly so that, by 8 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock, Debbie's heard that. She would surely have called straight away, immediately called Jay. And if Debbie didn't, Warren must have heard about it. Zach must have heard about it. You can't tell me that 7, 8 o'clock in the morning in Lancashire, people are reading Jay stole a rollie and the parents and the brother don't know. So when Debbie said there, I last spoke to him when he was there, and he was having such a good time, I take that to mean in the Airbnb. So that call from M, we were told by Ivor Lovelace, that M stands for Mum. Maybe Ivor, for once in his life, got something right. Maybe M was Mum. And that call that Debbie just referred to in that interview was her. Fascinating stuff. It's a shame the interviewer isn't really up on the Jay Slater case because as I think a wise interviewer that wanted to get to any kind of truth, as soon as that interviewer heard I last spoke to him when he was there, would have said, "Oh, you spoke to Jay when he was in Masca? Tell us about that." But of course, it's a it's a softball interview, powder puff nonsense. Let's let Debbie dribble on. I gotta say, she looked rough as nails. Gone was the manicured look of the ITV studio. I gotta tell you that much. She looks awful. And I think things will get worse. Things will get worse because naively, I believe, this is just my belief, naively, I believe, Ivor, Chris Pennington, Kaz Alice, all of this little entourage that have pushed, shoved, cajoled Debbie into hating the online sleuths and carrying on with the cover-up. I believe they've assured her that we will all at some moment just go away. And they've got that wrong. They've got that badly wrong. So I can only think that at some point Debbie will realize she's been misled and it's all downhill for her from here. Because all we want is the truth. When we get the truth, we all disappear. But we're a long way from that moment yet, I would predict. All right, let's leave it there. Like I say, I'll try to post the link. I hope the link works. But yeah, listen to the interviews. There are some nuggets in there. There's a lot of drivel, a lot of waffle, a lot of the usual hand wringing. But there's some stuff in there that is eyebrow raising, I would say. Okay, see you next time. Oh, hang on a second. You know I like being challenged. I like being challenged. I just noticed what good old Sugar Ape had said, I believe on Luggy's channel. What does Sugar Ape say about my language abilities? I do like to be challenged linguistically. Um, oh yes, Sugar Ape said, I very much doubt he is fluent in any of these languages he claims to be. Sugar Ape, I'm more than happy to chat to you live. You know, we're unedited and recorded, and you speak any language you like, and I speak any language I can speak, and we'll test it out. Yeah, I very much doubt he is fluent in any one of these languages he claims to be. Alors, par exemple, si je commence à parler français, Sugar Ape, est-ce que tu vas comprendre tout ce que je vais dire? Ou, par hasard, je ne sais pas, peut-être il faudrait avoir un dictionnaire pour me comprendre. Alors, si je fais ça, tu penses que tu vas suivre toute la conversation ou ça sera un peu difficile, un peu dur pour quelqu'un comme toi? Sugar Ape. I don't know. Did that sound convincing French to you, or have I just made all that up and it wasn't? Tell you what, Sugar Ape, of the languages I claim to speak, you tell me which one you want me to rabbit on for. I chose French today, but choose a language and I'll do something for you. I mean, you're probably going to say I'm reading it off a script. I mean, do you want me to close my eyes and do the same thing? Yeah? Shall I give you my predictions, Sugar Ape, for the World Cup? Oh, by the way, on the subject of the World Cup, yeah, that's starting tomorrow, believe it or not. So, those of you out there that are very keen to follow the World Cup, yeah, what I'm saying is I might find that I too am following that. So there might be some decrease in amount of posts and videos. There might not be. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I would like everyone to comment down below on the country they wish to win the World Cup, or at least do very well, apart from their home country. So, yeah, I don't want to see England, Scotland, what have you, because all I can tell you, don't really have a country myself. I like the little countries to do well. I mean, you know, fingers crossed Curacao can come up with a win. Fingers crossed Cape Verde can come up with a win, and Uzbekistan can come up with a win. You know, um, I've got to be honest with you. I don't know if other UK viewers are like this. You know, do the English people want Scotland, for example, to win? I've got to say, ever since running up against Smelliot, I've got to say, I really want Haiti to thrash Scotland in their opening game. I've got to say, I do want that to happen. I think the first game is Mexico, South Africa. I spent quite a lot of time en México. Oh, Sugarape. Por ejemplo, he pasado mucho tiempo en México. Entonces, oh, I could be reading that, couldn't I? Let me cover my eyes, Sugarape, to show you that I can do this. Entonces, Sugarape, he pasado mucho tiempo en México. Por eso me gustaría que mi equipo México gane muchísimos partidos sin problema. Does that sound good enough to you, Sugarape? Or am I don't know. Give me a language, Sugarape, and I will speak it to you quite happily. Or maybe you will speak to me and you can test me. Hasta luego, adios. Yes. Are you a Haiti fan? Are you a Mexico fan? Are you a Cape Verde fan, Uzbekistan fan? If you're Scottish, do you like to see England win? If you're English, you like to see Scotland win? Let me know. Hasta luego, adios. Hasta la vista. Bye bye.